What's up, metalheads? Metal Dave Glessner here, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today, we are joined by vocalist Blaze Bayley. Oh man, what a storied career this guy has had. You know him best, of course, as the singer for Iron Maiden at one point. He did 2 albums with Iron Maiden, The X Factor and Virtual 11. He was with the band from 85 to 88, 85 to 89, somewhere in there, a 5-year span. Prior to that, he had a band called Wolfsbane that was making some noise in Europe and starting to make some noise in America. We talked to him about that. Wolfsbane, Iron Maiden, and of course, a highly prolific solo career under the Blaze Bayley banner. He's got multiple albums out, including his new one called Circle of Stone. That is a fantastic album. It's available now. You can look it up. If you're a fan of his time with Iron Maiden, you'll see a lot of parallels in the songwriting and the music. If you're a fan of heavy metal in general, you'll love it. But there's definitely echoes of his time with Iron Maiden in this new album, Circle of Stone. Fantastic album. Great guy. He had a health scare earlier this year. We were supposed to have him on the show many months ago, but he had a heart attack and underwent quadruple bypass surgery, was out of work for about 6 months, but he's back. He's full of energy. He's in great voice, highly enthusiastic and energetic, as you'll notice. And we have some mutual friends. He's actually had a band called The Foundry with some of our Texas brothers, John Moyer from Disturbed on bass and Bobby Jarzambek
and
on drums.
Rick Plester, who he did mention. Rick Plester, I guess he still lives here. I think Rick still lives here. Rick's a guitar player. I am impressed just at the fact that he spent an hour plus with us telling these stories beginning to end and back and forth about this web of just cool things he's gotten to do and having a personal experience or very positive.
Oh yeah.
Even when things were not going well, by the end of said, vignette, the little story, the bunch of little things that he talked about, there was a positive on the end of it, and every positive had to do with music, with rock music, with metal music, all of it, every one of them. And he's humble.
And he's appreciative, very, very grateful.
Very appreciative. And, I can't say that I've really hung out with Blaze before, but we do have it's storied past. We were in the studio together, but we were kids when we were in the studio, when Wolfsbane and the Toys were out there at Sound City. That was so long ago, you know what I mean? And our agendas were completely different. Our feelings about loved ones were completely, probably not even on our minds at all, because we were just young and dumb and crazy. Yeah. So when you think about just everything and the things that he talks about today, I was on the edge of my seat because he's a very good storyteller. The guy needs a podcast where he just vomits into the microphone for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he could tell the same shit and just change the names once in a while, every episode, and I would still buy it.
Still be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It makes me want to hang out with him and talk to him and really get it in, the whole energy in person, because this is a podcast. He's calling from England.
Yeah.
And I was like on the edge of my seat going, what the hell is this guy drinking? I want some of that. Whatever it is he's got going on and the guy almost died, and he got to be in Iron Maiden, and he writes fantastic music, And he tells us today how he learned how to do that from the most incredible people in the business. You'll hear him. I'll let him drop the names.
Yeah.
And how every sort of thing that has happened to him, who was in the room, kinda, right?
Yeah.
And who got him out of those situations. And it all has to do with music.
Yeah, and a real quick shout to Paul Blackmore for helping us set this up today. We appreciate you, mate, and say hello to our good friend Stevie. We do appreciate you. Thank you kindly for getting us in touch with Blaze Bayley.
Blaze Bayley today here on the Talk Louder podcast.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We do appreciate your time. And I definitely want to talk about your new album, but I want to go back a little bit, kind of start from the beginning if we can.
Go back. Yeah, if I can remember any of it, I'll definitely talk to you about it.
Right?
I was drinking back then.
Right?
Some of it's a bit hazy.
Yeah.
That's quite all right. We're used to that on this show. It's all good.
Okay,
Tell me, first of all, how'd you get the name Blaze? How'd you get the nickname Blaze?
that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Everybody, we were just young men in a small town of ignorance at that time. With not much to think about, and we wanted to be the most outrageous band in Tamworth, where we came from in Wolfsbane. And we thought, we want to have outrageous names as well. And so we gave ourselves silly names, to like Gene Simmons and things like this. And mine stuck because what happened was my given name is Bayley Cook.
Right.
And Bayley at that time was just a second name. So you could be called, Stephen Bayley or Dave Bayley or Jason Bayley, and people would, at school it's okay because people often use your second name, but in the adult work life then, what's your name? Bayley. No, your first name. So after a few hundred times, you're just like so fed up with it. And we gave ourselves these ridiculous names. So my name was Blaze Bayley. I thought, I'll go for that one. And somebody says, what's your name? And I said, Blaze. And they go, oh, is it? Right. And they never said, is that your first name? And how demeaning it is when someone thinks you don't know your own first name and they question you on it. No, your first. So that was it. And I just kept my nickname, my ridiculous nickname. It's just got me through all of these years. But of course, in the US, then you're much more used to difficult and unusual names. And if somebody tells you the name, very unlikely that someone will say, no, tell me your first name, like they do in the UK.
Right.
So when I first got signed up, it was to Deaf American Records.
Yeah.
And I remember the manager would say, oh, well, what's your real name? I said, my real name is Bayley Alexander Cook. And he went, wow, man, what a shame you don't still have that name.
You can't win.
Yeah, I
can't
started
win.
with one of the guys we called Slut Wrecker. That was his name, Slut Wrecker.
Wow.
Wow.
He didn't keep that.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
You see, you could pull off Blaze at 60 years old or whatever you are, but Slut Wrecker, I don't know, man. That's going to be tough.
Steve Danger, he got nicknamed Danger because on the first rehearsal that we had with him, he was he was like a bit of a rap fan as well as being a metal fan, well ahead of his time. And we were in heavy traffic, just not moving at all. And he gets out of the van that he's driving. We're all in this van with him with all that gear in the back. He gets out the van for a gag. He gets out of the driver's side, then runs around the van and jumps back in to freak us all out.
That's a Chinese fire drill, yeah?
Yeah, it's like, what the? He runs around that and then gets back in and goes, oh. And one of his, because he's got no laces in his trainers, one of his shoes has fallen off in a road, man. And he had to go back and retrieve his shoe. And we were like, you're the most dangerous drummer I think anybody will ever have. So his name was Steve Danger after that. And so his name became Steve Danger, Elliot. But I stuck with the ridiculous Blaze Bayley, but everybody knows me. And what's nice is my very close family and fans, people that I've known that go way back to the very, very beginning, that's then they know me as Bayley,
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great name, and it does have staying power, and you can live with Blaze. You can live with Blaze Bayley much better than Slut Wrecker. So good on you. I read somewhere that you were inspired to start singing after seeing Ronnie James Dio on the Holy Diver tour. Is that accurate?
That's kind of it. That's kind of it. I love to sing, and I really wanted to join the choir at school. And in the lunch times, the choir would rehearse, mostly young girls. I was a young man of the same age. And where do all those go? There is a room full of girls singing, and I would be one of very few men, or boys actually, teenage boys, in that room. I want to be in that choir. And no, they threw me out after 3 rehearsals. It's too loud! I think that perhaps that was kind of them. But I love to sing, in my family, then people have loved music. A couple of people, I remember one of my aunts who played piano by ear. A lot of people did by then. So my father was a little bit musical as well. He was a drama student, had a career started his career as a stand-up comedian. Wow. And so that was kind of there. And I used to work nights in a hotel, and an old school hotel, about 35 bedrooms. And I would have to get out that vacuum cleaner and clean a hotel. Was part of my duties. I was checking in people at night, and then when everybody was there, hoover the hotel, set up things for the next day, all of this. And I would be singing to myself to drown out the sound of that hoover. So that was like something like a D flat or something, and I'd be singing along with that. And of course, I was getting into music myself. I loved metal music, really popular as well at the time. And I would finish work at about 8 a.m. and then go into Birmingham, which was like just a bus ride, a short bus ride away, about 35 minutes on the bus. And then at Birmingham Odeon, which was the holy grail for me, every band played there, from Diamond Head, Iron Maiden, Metallica, Bon Jovi, Ozzy Osbourne. It's about 1,500 seats. Yeah. And it's felt everything. Manowar played there. Everybody of that time. It was before metal went into arenas or stadiums. That was it. That's where you saw people. So I'd finish work, go there on the bus, look who was on, and just buy a ticket to see everybody. And one night, there he was. Ronnie James Dio was doing the Holy Diver tour. That's his first solo tour. And I was not very familiar with Ronnie at all, except from Rainbow. And I watched him, heard him, saw him do Children of the Sea from Black Sabbath, his Black Sabbath era. And when I saw him do that, from the beginning, it has this dramatic, quiet intro, and it becomes incredibly powerful as it goes on. That was an epiphany. I was like, wow, that's incredible. I was on the night shift. 11 p.m., I get back to work. I check people in that are late, all of that. About 1 a.m., I'm running the Hoover around the hotel, and I'm just thinking, well, what will I be doing in 10 years? Will I be still here at this hotel? And what would I do if I could do anything I want to do? And that answer came to me, man. It was like, zap! I would be like Ronnie James Dio. I'd be singing in a band and touring the world. And then this is the insane bit. Well, why can't you do that? And I just couldn't think of a reason not to. Nothing else. You know, I'm a young single guy, no commitments whatsoever. And I'm like, I'll do it then. And that was a moment I stopped being a worker in a hotel, checking in guests, and I became a rock singer waiting for my next gig. I wasn't even in a band. I wasn't in nothing, man. That was when that spark, that dream began. You know, we used to have a paper, weekly paper in Tamworth called Tamworth Herald, and the guy who did the sports section and had to write the music section, massive music fan, and we had one big page, and any local band could get in it. And at the bottom of the page, it was called Music Box, was a little ad. Heavy metal singer required, no experience necessary. Oh, well, that's me then, isn't it? So I went for that, and that was Wolfsbane. That was the audition. And I think probably because I was the only one that went to the audition, then I got the gig, man. And there it was. And that was the start. Jace Edwards was 13 at the time. He was just he was at school. He got his first guitar. He could play a little bit of classical violin. Jeff Haitley, I think he was 16 at the time. They formed the band Wolfsbane at school together, and then got me in album. And that was the beginning of the dream, really. And here I am now, 60 years old, and I'm actually living that dream. I've had my ups and downs. I've been through all sorts. I'm living the dream that I started that night after I saw Ronnie James Dio in Birmingham Odeon singing Children of the Sea. And I always remind myself of it, man, on those really crappy days where the van ride is 6 hours and you're scared to drink because you don't want the journey to take any longer if you have to stop to pee. All of that, you know, on those horrible days, I'm like, no, man, this is my dream. You know what? I could be doing a job in a factory. So many different jobs I've had to do over the years. I'm actually living my dream, and I'm completely independent as well. I own the record label. So there's only me on it. It's tiny. I own all my own music.
Yeah.
So it's incredible to have that. I'm not crowdfunded. I'm fan-funded by Blaze Bayley fans. So it's absolutely incredible to be able to do what I do, to have total artistic freedom to do what I want, express myself through the medium of music, and use this heavy music to tell stories and express my ideas and talk about different subjects. It's an incredible, incredible way to live. I'm so lucky that I have just such incredible, loyal fans that have stuck with me through the years.
That's amazing.
That was and shall be forever an incredible story that needs a standing ovation here in Mom's basement.
Thanks. Thanks, Mom. Thanks.
So you mentioned Wolfsbane, of course, and you
can't believe that was your first band.
Yeah, and you were signed.
Very, very lucky.
Wow.
You were signed to Def
We were
Jam.
so bad. That was the thing. I mean, we were awful musicians. Absolutely dreadful. We couldn't work out cover versions. You know, listening to the record, with constant arguments about it. So we wrote original material, and we said, right, when we've got 10 original songs, we can do a gig. And that was it. And then no one will be able to tell if we're messing up because it's original.
Right.
they'll think we meant it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good strategy. Yeah. So you were signed to Def Jam, which was
Def American.
Def
He
American,
changed-
yeah.
It went. He had a series of things: Def Jam, Def American, American.
Yeah.
right. So Def American, Rick Rubin's label, based out of the United States. How did you get discovered by Rick Rubin and signed to Def American?
Well, it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely impossible. So it has to be some kind of Jungian witchcraft stuff going down.
Yes.
And in the most bizarre sense, one of the reasons that we got signed up is because of King Diamond.
Oh,
Whoa.
do tell.
Oh yeah. So we were known in the UK, Wolfsbane. We were possibly the biggest unsigned metal band in the UK. We were on our way there, playing to 300 people without a record deal, just selling our own demos and T-shirts and things. And we were lucky enough to get a slot opening up for King Diamond at Hammersmith Odeon. Very, very famous venue. All the
Yes, I've played
Iron
there.
Maiden played
Yes.
Hammersmith Odeon 8 nights in a row. They had
Yes.
the record until Riverdance took a residency. So it was big, and we got a photo and a review inset in Kerrang magazine. The review on page 3 was of Slayer, who were the main metal band on Def American, Def Jam records. And Rick Rubin was looking at the review of Slayer and saw this little inset review of King Diamond and Wolfsbane. And the way it talked about us in the review, he goes, "Oh, well, that sounds like a really good band, and they're not signed. I'll try and find out about them." And so he was in LA at that time. He said to George Strakulius, who was in New York, "George, tell me about this band Wolfsbane." And he said, "They're unsigned, and I don't know anything else about them apart from they're for England." He goes, "Get me a tape." So then George Strakulius, these are in the days of swapping tapes, he went to the market somewhere in New York and got a Wolfsbane cassette tape. He sent that to Rick Rubin, who then noticed that the cassette had a phone number on it. He just phoned us up.
So was this one of your?
I'm Rick Rubin. I'm going, "Of course you are." He's going, "Yeah, I am." I'm going, "Why are you phoning me? You know, you're not going to." And he goes, "I'm phoning you about your band." I'm going, "Oh, are you?" I'm going, Rick, it's a lot. It was just incredible, man. It was just an absolutely absurd, incredible moment of all these little things that led to that thing. And when Wolfsbane, just going off slightly, first went to London to get an agent, and we were going, right, well, we'll take our tape round to record companies and agents and all of that. We were staying with a man called Bill, who was a white witch. I mean, he looked like this some kind of crazy young Gandalf, but without the pointy hat. And he looked at us when we were there, and he goes, "You're going to make it."
Yeah.
Yeah. And like every single agent and record company refused us on that trip. I thought, well, what's he talking? And man, Bill, he was right.
Fucking Bill.
Bill the Witch. So it was there, man. All of this thing that the universe gives you, it was there. One agent gave us a call back when we got home after a couple of weeks. "I've listened to your tape, actually. Yeah, I think we'll see. I've got you a gig." "What?" "Yeah, I've got you." And it was incredible. £50 for our first gig. It was made. Absolutely mad.
I think
So George,
Jason
hold on,
said you guys.
hold on. George is in New York. Hey George, hi, I'm Rick. Hey George, go get me a tape. I'm in New York. I'm not in England. He knew where to go. He knew where all the cool kids went to go get. Was this you may or may not know. I'm curious. Was it your demo or was it an official?
It was our demo.
It was your
yellow demo. It's called Wasted but Dangerous.
Okay.
And what Deaf America did, they took that demo as it was, they took the music from it, and they made it into a 12-inch vinyl for us.
Oh, yeah.
And that was our first proper record, was Wasted but Dangerous, and it came out on Deaf America.
That's how you did it back then. I don't think bands in Europe and the UK, England and such would release demos. I think they would release 45s.
No, we didn't.
EP,
it was,
small records back. I'm talking late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, we did our own little 12-inch.
Yeah.
You know, just funded by ourselves. Somebody helped us. We didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, 1,000 copies. Most of them were still in the loft. So that was that was it. It was just a demo that we sold that demo to fans, and we also sent it to record companies. That was what it was, and he found it on a market stall where people swapped fan bootlegs and things like this. But it was the actual Wolfsbane one that somebody had just by pure chance. What if George Draculius went to the market that day and there was no Wolfsbane? We'd never been to the USA. We'd never been there.
I wonder if it was like a little fan shop who had a collection, right? And may have. I wonder if he like, oh, hold on, I'll go rip it for you real quick. No, I'm George Draculius. I'm trying to get this tape for. Well, how much you? How bad do you want it?
I'm sensing a theme here. There's a lot of voodoo going on in the career of Blaze Bayley, all the way back from the beginning.
It is.
Jason and I were talking prior to having you on the show, and where did Wolfsbane record? Because I think
I can tell you
recorded in the same studio as Jason.
I can tell you when and
Jason,
where.
Tell the story. You're in the same studio with Dangerous Toys and Wolfsbane?
Yeah, Dangerous Toys. We're in Texas. Somehow we get discovered. Somehow, some way. Yeah. I'm only in the band a few months. And the next thing I know, we're at Sound City in Van Nuys, California.
Yeah.
And that would have been in not really any earlier than November of 1988.
Yes. Yeah.
And you guys were, when we were in Studio A, you were in B. And when we were in B, you were in A. And Rick Rubin was there sometimes. And sometimes Rick Rubin was not there at all.
I can tell you one thing that I learned about him. You probably know this. He's not paid by the hour, that guy, because he don't show up that much.
Right?
If he was,
that's what I've heard. Yeah,
but you know, I don't know if you remember us, Blaze. I don't know.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
we were in it. You know, I think there was a couple of pinball machines and some vending machines, and I think between the two of us, we would, steal chips, and cookies from. Yeah. Here, I'll get my hand. You pull it down upon yourself and shake it while my arm's up its ass. Yeah. And we
remember that?
I have. By the way, Blaze, I have photos. I have old photos of us hanging with you guys.
That'd be great to see those.
Danger, I know, is in a couple of them. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
The rehearsal rooms were literally it was just like a big car park, isn't it? And the rehearsal room is on the other side of the car park.
Next to the skateboard shop. Remember the skateboard shop? Skull Skates.
That's it. I still have my Skull skateboard.
Mine got stolen.
Oh no, man.
Which one did you have?
Just a plain black one.
Oh, okay. Mine was called Dead Guys.
Yeah.
And it had Jim Morrison and Elvis and all those fuckers on the back. Oh, it was fucking beautiful.
My black one, man. It was
what a great time back then.
Oh, yeah. And we were we were staying in an apartment called Oakwood Apartments.
So were we.
Yeah. And so they had an underground car park there.
Yeah. Were you on Barham? Barham? Near Hollywood?
It was Van Nuys.
Burbank?
Yeah, that's it. We were right out there, man. They didn't want us getting into Hollywood causing trouble.
Yeah. Well, so we were in the same studio, in the same apartment complex.
Yeah. And what I liked about it was the car park was raised. It was underneath and it was raised so you could skate from one end of the car park, from the entrance. You could just look, no cars coming. Go down.
Yeah.
You could freewheel then all the way around and just tic-tac up to the next ramp, for the exit ramp. Then from the exit ramp, come down that tic-tac, and listen to all those great albums of that time. Operation Mindcrime, I think, was coming out then, and everything. Man, it was just incredible days. If I could put this brain into that body, man, it would be incredible.
Yeah.
I think we all say that
Yeah.
at one point or another.
Yeah.
So you were making a dent in America. Obviously, you were a bigger band in Europe, but you were signed to an American label. You were on MTV. You were starting to gain some traction. I heard the songs. You were certainly as good as anything else that was coming out at the time. But we all know the music business has its ups and downs and good luck, bad luck, etc. In your opinion, from your perspective, why did Wolfsbane not happen on a bigger scale?
Well, I don't know. It might be small-minded or, the way that you look at things. But all we ever wanted to do was live on a tour bus. That was it. That was our vision of the future. We had no thoughts about, houses, cars, long-term relationships. We just wanted to live on a tour bus and play shows, which I think, I think would be the same for Jason. We all wanted that. And what happened was when we were in Europe and we wanted to do that, then along came grunge. And there we were, this fun, have a go, not take yourselves too seriously, intensely serious about our music and what we were saying, but in a way that, we were self-deprecating a little way, and suddenly you had to be staring at your feet in clothes that didn't fit, and everything had to be miserable. Where the whole idea of Wolfsbane in one way is we come from a small town in England where everybody's miserable most of the time because they're stuck in that town. We were anti-grunge. Yeah. We were so to be like, we just were in that way, we're the antithesis of what Nirvana represented and their attitude. So fashions changed. We were on the tail end of glam rock and metal, and things became unfashionable. And then I think the record company just looked at the numbers, and then Napster started, and that was it, really.
Yeah.
So in business terms, which I don't like to acknowledge anything to do with business, but of course it is, we just didn't have the exposure to the marketplace to put us at a level where we could really survive what happened with grunge and all of that. And all the UK press, man, they were saying, oh, that's it, Iron Maiden's dead, or Saxon's dead. Nirvana's the next big thing. They'll be here forever. This is a new way. Well, we saw what happened to all of that, don't we? And, those bands, Maiden, are still here. Wolfsbane are still here. We reformed. We got albums, host, man, and it's our best stuff. And we're in the process now of reimagining and re-recording that Live Fast, Die Fast album, that first album.
Oh, that's
We're doing
fun.
that right now in the studio ourselves. Yeah. Jace Edwards, that 13-year-old guitarist, is now this incredibly talented, experienced producer. And it's like, whoa, if you listen to the sound of the last Wolfsbane album, and then the first Wolfsbane album isn't even on Spotify, you know what? Maybe we could do that. And most of the songs from the first album are in the live set. So why not?
Yeah.
We know it anyway. It's not like having to go back and go, how did that get? Oh, yeah, we'll just rattle it off. So it feels good. It's a nice feeling. And now, of course, grunge is dead.
Yeah, yeah.
And we survive, and
Yeah.
we rejoice in life, and and it's the absurdity of it all. You
Yeah.
come and see Wolfsbane and hear Manhunt, and I Like It Hot, and things like that, and people love it, and they go, "Oh man, I'll forget about my life," which is what we always wanted.
Yeah. I love your point about the fact that you're from Birmingham and then you come to the United States and it's just this big, wide open land of sunshine and opportunity and the city never sleeps and it's good times and party. That perspective is lost on a lot of us here in America because we've grown up with all that, surrounded by it. So I love the fact that you brought that perspective to that discussion because we've heard the argument before that, well, just to put it in a nutshell, grunge came along and killed this previous era of music. But I've never heard it articulated from someone's perspective who came from Birmingham, a city known throughout
Tamworth,
history
yeah.
as being working class, hardcore. You work and die in the steel plants and all that stuff. So your perspective, I really appreciate.
And you think we went to then that Deaf American, where Def Jam was based in New York, and when Rick Rubin then decided to become Deaf American, he moved to California, and we were in Los Angeles, man. So you can't imagine the culture shock that we experienced as four guys from a small town in the UK, used to driving ourselves all around the UK, and how huge and how different California is. I mean, people speak, it's a kind of English that you can get along with, but hardly anybody could understand what we said when we got there. We had to speak half the speed that we normally spoke. And like, our bass player just shut up. He just wouldn't speak because every time he spoke, just at the normal thing that people will go, what? And Steve Danger, the notorious drummer, he's incredible chameleon, right? You're like, why are you talking with an American, a Californian accent, Steve? He said, no one asks me to repeat myself. I was like, what? It was just incredible. I ended up trying to speak like Anthony Hopkins.
Nice.
It was incredible, really. And rad. That was the term. We grew up in a rad and toast and all of these incredible words. You know, they were, wow, what does this? It was an incredible time because I absolutely loved being there in the end. But those first couple of weeks, that was California. It's not even really the USA. It's as people used to say at the time, it's a different country on its own.
We still say that.
People say that about Texas as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I love Texas. I got friends in Texas. I love visiting Texas. I had a little band there in Texas called The Foundry. And I love Texas. Texas is really that. It's similar to California in that way, I suppose, from my perspective, that it is a country. It's a country that it could be a country in its own right. It's a different vibe when I'm visiting Texas, which it's not for everybody, but for me, I really like it.
We have mutual friends, John Moyer and Bobby Jarzambek.
Are they trying to get money off me again?
No.
We didn't tell them we were talking to you today. It's our little secret. It's our little secret.
John and I got a small band together just because we had plenty of time to do it. We called it a Foundry with Rick Plester. It was nice, man. I mean, it's such
I had a little Metallica tribute band. We opened for you guys one time. This really weird gig on the East Side. Yeah. But you had James Kotak playing drums that time. Yeah.
Man, that was insane. With Joe sadly departed now, of course. Lost him.
Yeah.
And that was insane, man. He was such a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
Incredible groove that man had.
Yeah.
For those who are our listeners and watchers who aren't aware of, we're talking about John Moyer, the bass player from Disturbed, had a band with Blaze, and on drums you had AJ Pero from Twisted Sister for a
Yes.
while,
That's right.
and then James Kotak from Scorpions and Kingdom Come, and once in a while Bobby Jarzombek, our friend from San Antonio.
Incredible.
Yeah. So
Incredible. I remember Bobby, we were talking about growing vegetables in the garden. It's very unmetal and rock and roll.
That sounds like Bobby, though.
Yeah, that's it. Like, he's got a great physique, that guy, and he's grown his own vegetables because, of course, that is the best and healthiest way to do it because we don't know what they put in our food. And it was bizarre. And then to be singing some of these great songs with him on the drum, it was such a privilege to have played and experienced the camaraderie of being in a band with so many incredibly talented people. I'm very, very lucky to have had that experience.
Well, let's jump into the Iron Maiden thing. You guys were Wolfsbane was supporting Iron Maiden at one or more, a little tour. Tell us the story about how...
You may call it little if you're using Texas terminology.
I don't know. I want you to tell the story because I really don't know. So
it was 33, I think, was the number.
Wow.
Sold out shows in the UK.
Unreal.
And it was all the places they played as they were coming up and starting from, small theatre venues. Get every theatre in every city in the UK. And this will give you a clue, man, how big Iron Maiden and how important they were. They had every Saturday off on that tour. But you know what I'm saying with that? Your Saturday nights, when you're booking a tour, your Saturday nights, that's where you get your money. That's what gets you. No, man. Iron Maiden had every Saturday off so Steve could play football. Steve Harris could play. It was incredible. Like, what? And Steve said to me, we're on the tour about 3 shows. He goes, Blaze, can you play football? I said, badly. He goes, well, come and play with us. He goes, it's difficult to get a team together because what would happen there, Steve and the crew, wherever they were, they'd have a match against the local team. So Edinburgh Playhouse, for instance, they had their own football team. So we played against them and all different teams. And it was incredible, man. I was invited to be part of the Iron Maiden football team. It's still my number one tour. Just supporting Iron Maiden is still my number one tour.
I can't.
What we went through, it was just incredible. But that was it. Started in Southampton, I think, was the first gig. And
just for listeners and people watching, what year and what album was Iron Maiden touring?
That was for Maiden, was No Prayer for the Dying. And for Wolfsbane, we were just about to we recorded for the tour was called All Hell is Breaking Loose at Little Kathy Wilson's place, produced by the incredible Brendan O'Brien. Just incredible musician, producer, and we learned so much from him making that record. It was incredible.
Wow.
That's a whole book, really, of what we learned making that record with him. And we were promoting that. That came out midway through the tour, and it was incredible. And later, Steve told me the story, Steve Harris, and he said, I would hear you warming up, and you're singing. You had a lot more than what you did on stage with Wolfsbane. And there were parts of your voice that I found really interesting. And I thought, you'd have sounded really great on this No Prayer for the Dying record. And one of the songs from that, I actually did record with Maiden, or did a live version of it. And that was it, really. When it came to, things folded really with Wolfsbane, and we just couldn't go any further. That was it. Nobody was interested in us. And there was the opportunity to audition for Maiden. Then I gave them a bell. I said, I'd love to audition if, this was after Bruce had gone. And I was very, very lucky. That was the only advantage I had, really, was that I knew them. And I think it was 1,500 people put there.
Holy shit.
Yeah, something like that. And and I was lucky to be one of 12. Yeah, that was selected for the audition, and you learnt 10 songs, and they were all songs that were in the set regularly. With a Maiden set list about 22, something like that, depending on which tour it is. So these 10 songs were staples, Number of the Beast, Trooper, and things like that. And I learnt those songs, and I just said to myself, you know what, I've done everything I can. For an hour, I'm going to be the lead singer of Iron Maiden, and no one can stop me. Because here I am in the rehearsal room. And that's what I did, man. I knew every drum fill of every song, most of the melodies and everything like that. And I didn't start that. The thing was set up at one end of the room with the PA and the wedges, the foldback. I said, can I move that? They could, yeah, well, if you want. So I was standing with the band, in the band, with Nico right next to me, next to Steve, looking at the guys and everything. And I just went, that's it, man. You take my life, but I'll take yours too. I was like, there it was, man. I was the lead singer of Iron Maiden for that hour. And I can't do anything more. And I never thought anything would come of it, I thought my voice is so different to Bruce.
Yeah.
And Bruce is such a lovely guy. I met Bruce years before. We kind of knew each other, and he checked out Wolfsbane and things like this. A lovely, lovely guy. And just as an era, Bruce Dickinson's voice kind of is a hallmark heavy metal voice. When you want to describe heavy metal music, and
of course,
what is the essential vocal, you go Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson, and these are the two giants of our world, and culturally speaking, both incredibly important. To music, it's as incredible and important as Star Wars is to cinema.
Yes.
Yes. And
here you go, 50 years into it. 51, 52 years into this shit.
Just incredible. The strength is when I was incredibly lucky to be selected, and they chose me, and the sense that I got was they wanted a different voice, because on the X Factor album, it kind of turned a corner, and then on Virtual 11, it did again. It was a progressive era of Iron Maiden, and my voice was from a different place than where Bruce's was, the way I produced it and everything. So I think that's why they looked on me so favorably. It's like, you know what? We've done all this. We're going to go in a different, we feel like we're going somewhere different, and this is the voice that we want. I was lucky to be the right bloke at the right time when we did this. And when I joined the band, Steve Harris said, there is no music written for the next album. We'll do it all together. He said, I don't care who writes the music. It just has to be great music and great songs. And I wrote Man on the Edge with Yannick Gers, became a top 10 hit all over the world, in some countries, #1. And it's still in my set list today. And Maiden played it on their Legacy tour.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've seen Maiden in recent years, and they still do. The Klansman.
Still do a couple of
Southern Cross. And so, did you write the lyrics for some of those songs, or all of those songs? Or?
Yeah, some of it, and some of it I was just a part of being there, because Steve Harris writes a lot of the lyrics.
Yeah, I knew Steve was the primary writer, but how intimidating is that for you to hand Steve a sheet of lyrics?
Yeah. And I'll tell you that what is very, very cool, an abiding memory is for the Virtual 11 album, the second album that I did with Maiden, Steve Harris coming into the studio, a little rehearsal studio on the back of his house. And it just had a little, like talking about a little sheet of paper with some pencil on it written. And he goes, "What do you think of this?" And he had an acoustic bass at that time he played, and he starts whistling, and that was the Klansman. And I said, "Steve, I think it's incredible, mate." He said, "Sure?" I said, "Man, this is going to be huge." And it was a recording. You could feel the goosebumps, something special about this. And it is, I'd say, in the top 50 Iron Maiden songs, that's got to be up there. The Klansman's got to be up there. It's one I do. When I do my set list with, I enjoy the anniversary of the albums that I did, then Klansman is in there. And it's such a huge dramatic song. And then you can draw a line from Klansman and that era, those era of songs, right to my Circle of Stone album. And you can see, right, you go back to those few years, it's only 5 years and 2 albums, but what I learned working with Steve Harris and the guys, you could see, you come right up now to my Circle of Stone album, and the drama of it, the dynamics of it, I learned how to do that from those times with Iron Maiden. And before that, how a part of the songwriting with Brendan O'Brien and with the guys in Wolfsbane coming through, and then things started to get, for me personally as an artist, from getting the idea from your head to make sense on the record, how it sounded in your head. And it was a bit hit and miss before, but then working with the guys in Maiden, it's like, no, you do this, and then it should do that. And no, you don't go to the chorus then. You go here then. And one thing which it's just stood with me is a thing that Steve Harris said about the writing. The vocal is the most important thing, but the instrumental is as important as the vocal. And that constant spiral of, but the instrumental's as important. The vocal is the most important thing, because everything made to do is a song. But the instrumental is as important as the most important thing. So everything's important, but you've got to be invested in that instrumental. And that is something I've taken with my own work. When you listen to the Circle of Stone album, you go, yeah, okay, it's a journey. And that's one of the big things that I learned. It's not the biggest thing that I learned in Maiden, that every part of that song has to be important, just as important as a chorus or anything else. All of it must be important. And I think you can really feel that on Klansman and songs like that.
What about I'm sorry, Dave, what about when you hear Bruce sing songs, your material?
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah,
it's
bet.
Incredible feeling. Incredible. So, yeah.
I bet. I wish I could be like with you when that song comes on in the room, just standing next to you going, I want to watch Blaze freak the fuck out.
It's just brilliant, man.
Yeah,
I love
man.
Bruce. He's incredible. He's just a marvel, isn't he? In the truest sense of the word. He's
kind of inhuman. He's got this. I don't know what superhuman, right?
I'm a singer in a band, and I struggle to get that right most of the time. And he's like, yeah, man. I've driven the band. I've driven the van to gigs. He's flying a plane.
Yeah.
I'm singing. I was like, what? No, that's it. I'm not flying anybody anywhere. I'm lucky. They won't let me drive the van half the time.
Yeah, well,
I drive, and I freely admit this, when I'm driving the van, I drive like an old lady. Oh, so I don't doing it in the van. Oh, we got the gear in the van. I'm riding my motorcycle. I don't care, man. I just ride regular around, just trying to avoid falling off. But yeah, I can't. He's incredible at what he does, and it's nice, and it just shows the depth of Maiden, that all the eras are important, because everybody put everything they had into every album, no matter what the circumstances were or how well it turned out. They did their absolute best, and that's another lesson that I've learned. And coming back and getting Wolfsbane back together again, and feeling that passion that we had at the beginning, none of that's changed. None of it's gone away. We love making music together. You get the four guys from Wolfsbane in a room, chaos happens on a regular basis. And when I'm making my own solo records, like Circle of Stone and War Within Me, and it's like, this song has to do this. You will feel better after listening to this. While you're listening to it, you will start to feel better. If you're in the gym and you look across and there's a treadmill on fire and there's a guy in there running, what's he got at? He's listening to a Blaze Bayley album. And that's what it is. They'll probably make it illegal in the gym, because my fans are going, you know what? This is my workout album. And they become like Iron Man in the gym, man. It's incredible. So that's what's in my mind when I'm doing my music. That's what's in my mind, and trying to have the themes. I love movies and science fiction and that, but also the depth of the lyric. I'm somewhere on every album. There's an anti-suicide message. There's a message that just, come on, hold on, because we lose so many young men to suicide. I had a heart attack, but even so, you lose more young men to suicide than heart attack or anything like that. I always try and put that on there. Mental health, I've never had to shy away. It's getting better now, but a few years ago, if you said the word mental health at work, they were looking for a way to fire you, even though you weren't acting crazy like me. With me, I got mental health problems and challenges in my mental health. It's like, well, why wouldn't he? He's a heavy metal singer, don't they all? It's just, it's a different thing. So I'm very lucky to be able to express myself and do that. And I'm always thinking, what will my listener experience when they're in there, when they're in that song, when they've got the headphones on, they've gone, right, I've got the album, lights out, headphones on, I'm going to lose, or right, I'm going to the gym, or I'm, one of my fans the other day said, your War Within Me album, I walked to the gym with that album because I hate going to the gym. It's such a rundown area and it's filled with problems and everything. I have anxiety about going to the gym, and I put your album on to get me to the gym. It's incredible.
Wow.
I find it very humbling that people include me and my work in part of their life, and it's an important thing to them. I find it, for me, I feel it's an incredible privilege to be able to do what I do and reach people, and they appreciate my work.
I love that you feel that way about it, and that you appreciate it. So the album Circle of Stone, is it currently out? I'm unclear.
Yeah, this is a new album. We just finished the Circle of Stone tour. It's very, very spooky, Dave. And I don't know how much Jungian coincidence there is with this, but a very tough album to make in a lot of ways, because the standard is up here now, and nothing is okay, and nothing can be that will do. It has to be, is this the absolute best? And you know yourself from being in these situations, is this the most complete solution to the puzzle of this song that has presented itself to me. And like this all of the time. Is that the best bit? Can it be like, should the chorus be there? Should that even be the chorus? Does that belong in this song? Does this make, oh, that's a good bit, but that's the only good bit. Should we even have that song? All of this going on and on. Eventually you get, I mean, just like, no, the guitar should be 2 degrees to the left. You know what I mean? And you've already, but we've mixed the album. Well, I'm telling you, it's not going out until that guitar moves and all of this. Just crazy stuff. And it's Friday. I'm supposed to be going on tour on Monday, and it's going to be the tour for the anniversary of my 10th Dimension album and part of War Within Me album. And we finished the album. I get the master through, a latest version of the master, and go, yeah, it's got everything I want on it. Everything's in the right place. Okay, that's at the end of this tour. Yeah, right, we can send off to the factory now. End of this, that'll get pressed up, and we're ready to carry on. Saturday, saying to my wonderful fiance, Kate, right, we're going to go out. Saturday afternoon, I'm sat here at home, and I have a heart attack. So I just feels, of course, a lot of people think they've got indigestion when they have a heart attack. And she has to take the phone off me and phone the ambulance. I didn't realise this, but I live 2 minutes from the ambulance station. Paramedics were going on a break, heard the call and said, we'll take that call. In 2 minutes, they were in my house. I was having treatment for my heart attack. And then in 15 minutes, I was in hospital, and then 3 weeks after that I was having open heart surgery, quadruple bypass. I wasn't going on any tour at all. Something like that, you're stopping right now, buddy. That's it. You're going nowhere. So the tour had to be totally postponed. I couldn't work for 6 months. I just went to nothing. I was sitting around. I couldn't even lift a kettle or, a bag of shopping or anything like this. And, here's just the mind-blowing thing for me, that not one single fan asked for a refund on their ticket. Not one of the promoters cancelled the show. They said, okay, we'll postpone that. You tell us when you're ready to come back. I couldn't do anything for 6 months. I didn't even know if I could come back. No one left me or deserted me. And you know what my fans did? They bought the T-shirt for that tour that could not happen because I was too ill to do it. And they supported me. So, it's incredible. And on this record, on Circle of Stone record, there's so much talking about ancestors and a link to the past and ancestry, and also in one part there's a conversation about looking to the future and things like this, and how you have to develop yourself. And one of my lyrics was, from my chest, my heart is torn. And that's a song called Absence. And man, that was well before I had a heart attack or open heart surgery that was written. And people think, that must be a reference to the surgery of the heart. No, man, that was done before. That was done before. And it's a song which basically the lyric is very simple. I use the simplest words I can because it's called Absence because it's just about missing the person you love the most in the world. It's purposely very, very simple. When I was in hospital, and I thought, I have to sing these words. I have to sing these. I've written this with my fans in mind, this whole album. I need to get back to my fans to sing these lyrics. I've imagined singing these lyrics to my fans. I've got to get back. And that was the inspiration, part of it, to really make me think, no, this isn't over. This is just, okay, whatever kind of setback this is, that's it. And I got home and my fiancée, Kate, had put up all the cards, I mean, hundreds of cards, letters, and pictures and stuff. And I, of course, plenty of time to go through everything, read everyone, and so many stories of your music has helped me. And you've been such a part of my life, and please get well, and all of that. It's incredibly humbling, and in a way, you've got a responsibility. You have to get back. You have to get back because people are really counting on you.
Yeah.
I'm somebody's favorite singer. I've got to get back to do that record. And the bizarre thing, this tour, the Circle of Stone album, it's done on Spotify. It's been my most successful album. Physically, my fans, what they do is they'll listen to it on Spotify or one of the streaming. Then when they see me, they'll get the album if they don't order it on, to get a physical copy. And it's the biggest selling album that I've had since I've been independent. So 3 times more than any of my other albums since I've had my own little tiny label. This album's done. I've played to more people than I've ever played to at my headline shows. I'm a small independent artist. That's who I am. I've done stadiums. I've done all that in the past with Maiden. I'm a small independent artist. But my shows, I've had more sold out shows on this tour than ever before. And you think, it feels very spooky that there it was. The paramedic said, we got there in 2 minutes. Gonna be fine. If that was 10 minutes, you would be dead.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Yeah, you've got a
scary.
guardian angel and a voodoo priest looking after you or
I
something.
think, man, the energy of my fans, I really believe the energy of my fans and all the people that wanted me to get well, that energy is in the universe and that's there. And I think a big part of keeping me positive and keeping me well and getting me back to good health is all of the positive vibes of people going, come on. They're thinking, they're listening to my records, they're listening to my songs, things that are important to them. That's a huge part of it because, okay, I am crazy. I fully admit being a total nut job, but it is my belief we are all connected. We are. We are all connected in ways that they don't want us to know about because if we all realized how connected we are, we would change things.
That's right.
Like that. But they don't want us to know. And
No.
that's a part of the I'm here because people went, come on, because they wished me well. Literally, and people said prayers and all of that. It all goes to that same thing. Someone, the whole thing was getting me back. Come on, let's get back.
Yeah. Well, I love that you drew parallels from your work with Maiden to the Circle of Stone album, because when I was listening to the Circle of Stone record, I had that same thought. This sounded to me like an extension of what you did in Maiden. And the songs were, again, kind of like you said this yourself, the themes and the song and the vibe of the work that you did with Maiden seems to have carried over on this album. And I was thinking to myself, anybody that loved the Blaze period with Iron Maiden is going to love this record. Anybody that loves heavy metal in general is going to love this record. And I think, you've done a really great job of it. My favorite song on the record so far is The Rage. And I'll tell you, when you were talking earlier about Ronnie James Dio and Children of the Sea, and you're talking about a song that starts off very quiet and sort of slow and very eerie and spooky, and then it just builds and gets really powerful, that's The Rage, and I love that song. That's my favorite song so far. But as a whole, I love what you're doing with Circle of Stone, and I think your fans will too. And fans that maybe haven't kept up with you but appreciate the stuff you did with Maiden owe it to themselves to check out the
Thanks,
Circle of Stone record. Yeah, absolutely.
I think, one of the things, and please, though I want your show to be a massive, huge success, I don't want the people over there that run the streaming services to know this. But what we didn't have when we were in Sound City making that first album, Jason or me, we never had a Spotify or something where you could just easily listen to something. You could go to a record store and maybe put the headphones on if you were lucky enough to have one like that local. But with Spotify and the streaming services, then you can go, oh, I'll just have a quick listen to that, find out a popular song, and find out what they're about. Before the big business had control, they could fool you with all kind of advertisements and stuff like this into spending your money before you ever heard about it on a record without knowing anything about it. So for me, the streaming services are like the best radio station I could ever have, because people can go and check me out and listen to stuff. They don't have to commit any money to it. And then they'll go, okay, well, I'd like to find out more. And being a nerdy collector geek, as so many of us are, when I like a band, then I've got to go and see them live. I've got to get the T-shirt and I've got to start owning the CD, because that's who we are. So for me, as a small artist, independent artist, it's of no detriment to me that you hardly get any money off the streaming services, because the access of fans to different things is incredible. It's only the really big artists, I think, and the medium to big artists, they suffer because there's no real volume CD sales and things like that anymore. It's tough for them, but for me, it's very nice. And that song, Rage, that we just didn't have the intro for that. And Chris Appleton and Luke, we were here in the home studio, said, just put something on. I said, oh, I want to work out the lyric. Just do anything. Just do anything, just for now, just so we got something nice to listen to. Okay, then. So, I wait for dawn to come. Miguel is, and a few weeks later, he sent me the mix. He goes, I said, well, what are we going to do about this intro then for Rage? He goes, you're not going to do it any better than just those 5 minutes we spent there in a home studio coming up with, and that was it. So there was magic there.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it again. I was like, you listen to it, you can't imagine anything else. Every inflection of the voice, it was just one thing that we did in 5-10 minutes, and they go, okay, yeah, that's the end of the session. Off we go, bang, goodbye, everybody. Yeah, it was incredible. So there's real magic there. For some reason, we just, I don't know what the universe does, but they just dropped that little, well, put them in that situation and make him come up with something. Yeah. And that was, it's very popular with my fans, that song, Rage. And of course, it's a true story. It's a true story about someone who loses their temper and kills their best friend. Their best friend has saved their baby son from a wolf attack.
Yeah.
It's not revealed anywhere on the album. You have to find this out for yourself. The best friend is their dog. And dog, the prince calls for his dog Gellet, for his hound, his hunting hound. Gellet, come on, he's ready to go. Didn't come. So he goes anyway with the rest of the pack, goes hunting, comes back, and he's calling for Gellet. Gellet comes up to him. He's got blood on his face. And he goes up to the nursery where he's left his baby son, and there's blood on the walls. And he looks around, and instantly he jumps to conclusions that my hound has killed my son. And he gets his sword out, kills the hound. And then here's the baby cry. The crib's overturned. There's the baby underneath the crib, and lying next to the baby's a dead wolf. And what's happened is, when he was calling his hound, he was actually fighting to the death with a wolf to protect the son of his master. And it's an incredibly tragic tragic story.
Yeah, let me
but
say
also a lesson.
that's the saddest story I've heard in a long time.
It is. And I didn't want to say dog or
Wow.
hound anywhere in the lyric. I wanted it to be, for those of us that love animals, and come on, there's millions and millions of us that love animals. And man, when I was going through my darkest time with booze, with suicidal thoughts and that, my Jack Russell was there with me just all of the time, just licking my face, or in those darkest moments, man, when I thought absolute worst. That animal never deserted me or left me. It's an incredible thing to think about it. So I thought, we'll do this. We're not going to mention hound, dog, pet, nothing like that. This is your best friend, because you've lost your temper, and these are the consequences that you will endure. So the whole perspective of the song Rage comes from, you are haunted at night. You cannot sleep because of the guilt that you feel and the visions of your best friend, who you deeply, deeply regret that you lost your temper in that moment. And we all live with those regrets of losing our temper at some.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
It's
great.
a great song on a great album. Let me ask you a question that I think I already know the answer to. What are the odds of you being able to tour the United States and support this album?
We're always looking. We're always looking what we can do. My friends there, it's a 3-band bill. For people at my level, if you want to tour there, you've got to have a good 3-band bill to make it interesting enough for people to travel. I've got thousands of hardcore fans in the USA that are waiting for me to come. It's just very challenging to get there. Very, very challenging. It's very expensive, very challenging. I'm a small independent artist, and whenever I can go there, I do go there. So I would love to do a proper tour there, and come with a couple of other good bands and do a nice package there. So, man, my fans on the last tour that I managed to do, just so hardcore there. They followed me for years. People traveled across the country to see me. It was absolutely incredible. Very, very humbling, when people say, I've come from Colorado, I've come from Texas, I've come from New York. It's just incredible.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. We hope you can tour. It's a solid album. We admire all of your past career, as you probably guessed by the questions today, dating all the way back to Wolfsbane and your time with Maiden and your solo stuff as well. And Circle of Stone is a great, great album.
Thanks, Dave.
Encourage everyone to go out and check it out. Listen to it on Spotify, and then go buy the vinyl or the CD or whatever. As Blaze says, use Spotify as an introduction, and then go buy the physical product. Man, you look great. We tried to do this a while back, right about the time you had your heart attack. So we're happy to see you in good health, in good spirits, in good voice. And we wish you all the luck in the world, continued success with your new album, Circle of Stone. People, go check it out. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, with our special guest today, Blaze Bayley, on the Talk Louder podcast.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Jason. Thank you, man.